JoJo Phillips obviously being banged up. That's the situation with the wide receiver spot where he's not going to be playing against East Carolina. It could be a very long, extended period of time without JoJo Phillips. So you got to have to reestablish the hierarchy at the wide receiver position. But if BYU can, win this game at East Carolina coming up next week and then start to pick up steam in Big 12 play, because you look at the schedule in the Big 12 for BYU, they've got Colorado, who's okay, but they're turning to their third-string quarterback, potentially, to be their starter, and Ryan Staub. And then West Virginia lost to Ohio last week. They look like they're a mess. Arizona, the week before Utah, pretty tough. October 11th, Arizona's 2-0. They got a pretty good defense so far, looking pretty good offensively. And then, of course, the Utah game, and Utah looks excellent through 2 weeks. So, but outside of Utah, I look at the schedule, and I think there's a lot of spots where BYU could pile up some wins. Now, Iowa State, Texas Tech, TCU, it's a gauntlet in the back half of the season, but I do think BYU could really climb the polls and get up to, 5-0, maybe 6-0 before that Utah game on October 18th. So, but it was just interesting to me, though, that BYU's got such high odds to potentially make the playoff. When you factor in the AP pollsters don't even rank BYU, and really BYU seems like they're kind of out of sight and out of mind on the national college football landscape, yet they've got these good odds, third best odds in the Big 12 to potentially make the playoff. And I think it's a lot of respect for BYU's defense, how the schedule kind of sets up, and the opportunities. Because what's exciting is that the toughest games, teams like Utah, teams like TCU, Texas Tech, if they continue to pile up wins on their end, those could be some marquee opportunities for BYU going forward. But the Cougs have obviously this week been practicing, staying in Provo, kind of dialing things in during this bye week. It's a little bit of a balance of rest, but also continuing to work. With such an early bye week, it's not your traditional bye where it's just stay off the feet, get complete rest, and then run it back on Monday for game week. Now, this has been a work week for BYU this week in preparation for the Pirates coming up next week on September 20th, which will kick off at 5:30 p.m. right here on KSL News Radio. We'll have Cougar Sports Saturday at high noon that day from Greenville, North Carolina, for the Cougs and the Pirates when that game takes place on Saturday, September 20th. But BYU's in a really good position right now, and you always like a BYU team that's hanging low and has low expectations. They got a little bit of the chip on the shoulder going for them. I think that's a nice dynamic for this BYU team as they continue to go through the bye week, but then also continuing preparations for that East Carolina squad. BYU right now, too, statistically in college football, they got one of the best defenses in the sport. Number one in scoring defense right now at 1.5 points allowed. They've only given up 3 points so far. And if you think back to last season, even the Colorado Alamo Bowl, BYU's defense has been lights out. Jay Hill is just putting in work. You think about where BYU's defense was 3 years ago, where they were one of the worst defenses in college football, and now being near the top. Now, the competition's clearly going to level up with these offenses that are a lot more potent going forward for BYU, but still, to dominate these poor offenses as they have, pretty impressive. And it's, again, a defense that is, to me, the best defense that Kalani Sitake has put together since he became the head coach of the Cougars. And that he's in his 10th season now. So it's not like we have some small sample size to work with. Kalani has been doing this for a while, and I think this is the group that's far and away his best defense since he became the head coach of the Cougars. And I think, too, with BYU for this season, I'm really curious to see what happens, too, with how the passing attack does continue to evolve with Bear Bachmeier. Bear Bachmeier, I think he's done a really nice job for BYU through the first 2 weeks. True freshman. We saw him and his brother at a retirement home after the game against Stanford, or the following weekend, Sunday. He was at a retirement facility in Provo, kind of integrating himself into the community, giving back to those. I just think that Bear Bachmeier is kind of like the perfect leader for BYU's program, but at the same time, he's really young still. And at what point is he going to have adversity hit him, and how quickly will he respond? But I like so far how he has performed for BYU navigating these first two games where he looks like he's been in complete control and doesn't seem like he's been rushed at all. I think that's a really promising sign for this BYU team. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll get to that's BYU football talk. It said, BYU football bye week. We got a little bit of time to kind of get some stuff out here on the show. On the other side, we'll get some BYU basketball talk as the Cougs, they're getting closer to starting up practices here coming up a little bit later this month. Want to hit on some news and notes with BYU basketball. This is Cougar Tracks here on KSL News Radio.
Traffic brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. A little bit of delay in Summit County westbound I-80 due to an accident near Kimball Junction. Only 2 left lanes of travel are getting by, and it looks like we have wet roads in that area as well. Here in the valley, traffic slowdowns are breaking up, but just not clear yet. Look for heavy and slow spots of travel southbound I-15 between 7200 and 146 South. Eric?
Northbound 15, a little bit slow as you head between 2100 and 1300 South, and further up the line, a similar patch of slowing as you approach the North Interchange. The rest of the way, all the way to Ogden, looking good. And the other northbound major freeways, highways heading out of Davis County, also in great shape. US 89 West Davis Highway and the Legacy Parkway after you leave 215 westbound heading north. That's good through Woods Cross and West Bountiful. Let Zero Res make your carpet new again. Call 866-ZERO-RES or go online to zerores.com to schedule your appointment today. Eric Butler in the KSL Traffic Center.
Amanda, I'm always on the hunt for a deal where I get the highest quality for the best price. I mean, that's what everybody wants, right? But Bedrock Quartz delivers that. They give you the highest end countertops and backsplashes and bathrooms and tiles and all of those things. And right now, you can get the best price ever on what they have.
I love that they've extended this friends and family discount through the month of September. So you literally will pay what an employee of Bedrock Quartz would pay through the month of September. And they did 2 bathrooms at our old place and 1 in our new place. And Andy, there's just nothing like getting in a shower that is as beautiful as it can be with Bedrock Quartz.
You know, if you're in your home and you're not looking to move, but you can still make it feel like new with new countertops or new bathrooms. So right now, when you go into their showroom, the price on the showroom is what it is installed, no additional markup.
And that's true whether it's quartz or quartzite or granite or marble. And they have 100 different options to choose from. So you'll find something you fall in love with.
They're a 4th-generation, family-owned countertop company headquartered in Utah since 1976. Check them out online at bedrockquartz.com.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago Senator Dick Durbin. And now Dick Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, consumers have thousands of choices in credit cards, all with equal, strong security. But Durbin's plan is less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and your identity. Tell Republicans in Congress, stop Dick Durbin's takeover of your credit card before it's too late.
Paid for by Electronic Payments Coalition.
Everything's a little better when it's super. Heroes, markets, sized, and of course, checks. A super check gives you an in-depth review of your current insurance coverage with a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent, no matter who your insurance provider is. That's super cool. Talk to a Farm Bureau agent to make sure you're properly covered at fbfs.com/protect. It's your future. Let's protect it. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
Ticket packages for the Utah Mammoth 2025-26 season are available now. From full season and half-season packages to mini plans and other flexible options, choose the ticket package that fits you best and be part of the action all season long. Call or text 801-325-PUCK to talk with a rep or visit nhl.com/Utah/tickets/season tickets to learn more.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
At Peach Windows and Doors, they help homeowners stay in the homes they love while upgrading to the elegance, efficiency, and natural light of today. With hundreds of 5-star Google reviews, their clients know Peach Windows and Doors deliver what they promise.
I wanted to replace standard-size French doors with a large custom sliding door. The update required checking a weight-bearing wall. Plus, I wanted a couple of different styles of windows. The new sliding door created a much brighter and open look. Peach was so helpful along the way with recommendations and ideas, and the installers were efficient and respectful of my space. I was thrilled with Peach Windows and Doors.
Give your $1 million home the $1 million feel it deserves. Don't wait on that someday project. Visit Peach Windows and Doors Salt Lake Showroom. Schedule a free in-home visit. You can also explore at peachwindowsanddoors.com or just call them at 801-566-1255. Peach Windows and Doors, where amazing home transformations begin.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Cougar Tracks on KSL News Radio. Look for Mitch Harper tomorrow on YouTube. Cougar Tracks airs every day on the YouTube page for KSL Sports.
Welcome back into KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper here with you on Cougar Tracks on this Thursday evening. And Big 12 football is going to be pretty busy even without BYU this weekend. Got some conference games. I'll give you right now my Big 12 football picks. The Friday games are going to be the headliners for Big 12 football this weekend. Colorado goes at Houston in a Friday night game, Big 12 conference game. As I noted earlier, Colorado's going to play a third-string quarterback, Ryan Staub. He's kind of emerged as their now starting quarterback coming out of last week's game. So that's a name to watch because BYU will play Colorado in about 2 weeks or so. So keep an eye out for the Buffs. They go at Houston. I'm going to go with Houston to win this game. Houston kind of under the radar. They got a good running back, got a good transfer quarterback from Texas A&M and Connor Wegman. I'm going to go Houston to take down Colorado in Houston tomorrow night in Big 12 action. That's at 5:30 p.m. And then also another Big 12 game, but it doesn't count in the Big 12 conference standings, if that makes sense. It's a non-conference game because it was scheduled before these two teams became Big 12 foes. That's Kansas State at Arizona. 7 o'clock kick tomorrow night. Kansas State's reeling. They're 1-2 on the season. They're already going to play their fourth game of the year, which is kind of crazy to think. Arizona has been playing some good football to start off this season, 2-0 this year. I'm going to go with Arizona to take down the Wildcats in purple. Arizona, I think, bears down and gets that win, which, again, won't count in the Big 12 standings. Some of the other notable games coming up on Saturday around the Big 12 Conference. Number 21, Texas Tech plays Oregon State. I've got Texas Tech winning that one. And that's a noteworthy game because it's the week before Texas Tech goes up here, up the street to Salt Lake City to take on Utah. That's going to be a big game. But I got Texas Tech taking care of business against Oregon State. And then also West Virginia versus Pitt, the backyard brawl. West Virginia is reeling. They lost their star running back for the season due to an injury. They're coming off a loss to Ohio. I think Pitt, a rival, I think they take down the Mountaineers. Number 14, Iowa State goes at Arkansas State. I've got the Cyclones staying undefeated and taking down the Red Wolves. And then Utah goes at Wyoming. It's a little bit of a whack Mountain West Conference throwback for the Utes, making the trip across I-80 to go to the Front Range to Laramie, Wyoming, War Memorial Stadium. Kyle Whittingham was talking about some memories that he had as a player at BYU, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, did he just kind of indirectly mention BYU? Did Whittingham just do that? I've got the Utes, though, rolling against Wyoming. Wyoming's got some questions at quarterback. They had a decent quarterback, but I think he got banged up last week in their win against Northern Iowa, that being Wyoming. So I got the Utes taking down the Pokes, and then Arizona State faces Texas State. They're looking to bounce back after that disappointing loss to Mississippi State last week. This could be close, but I think Arizona State has a bounce back. and they take down the Bobcats of Texas State. I teased it earlier. This is crazy. BYU basketball, they're going to be in action coming up in about a month. October 18th, BYU basketball will take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers in Lincoln, Nebraska, in an exhibition game. The tip time for that was announced earlier today. It's going to be an 11 a.m. tip-off, and that's going to be a big day. October 18th, Saturday, BYU basketball will play Nebraska, and then BYU football will play Utah. We still don't know the kick time of BYU football against the Utes. We'll find that out about early October when we get that word. But what I'm saying is BYU basketball is around the corner, and it's the most anticipated season of BYU basketball ever in my lifetime, and I would comfortably say the most anticipated season in the history of the program. And I know there have been years in the early 80s, late 70s that were highly anticipated with Danny Ainge, some of the Kresimer Kostic years in the early 70s, but just the magnitude of Big 12, Kevin Young, fresh off a Sweet 16 appearance, the number one recruit in the country coming in with A.J. DeBonsa. This BYU basketball team has big-time expectations. And I was looking at some advanced analytics on BYU basketball for the upcoming season. There's one site that's utilized in NCAA tournament seeding. It's called Bart Torvik Rankings. They've got BYU basketball ranked number 6 entering the season. Think about that for a second. BYU basketball being ranked number 6 going into a given college basketball season. This team is loaded with A.J. DeBonsa, Rob Wright coming in from Baylor, the point guard. He's going to be an absolute star. Richie Saunders, no one's talking about him nationally. I think he's an All-American candidate this season for BYU basketball. Richie is going to be spectacular. With DeBonsa and Rob Wright alongside him, so many open three-point looks for Richie. His efficiency is going to go off the charts. It's just going to be a sight to see. Richie's going to be excellent for BYU this year. You still got Keba Keita back. There's a sleeper that I don't think enough people are talking about for this BYU basketball team. It's Kennard Davis, transfer from Southern Illinois, and they call him Moo, M-O-O. That's his nickname, Moo Davis. For BYU, as we saw last year, there were stretches in the season, including the Sweet 16 game against Alabama, where the defense just struggled. It was kind of a track meet, and you had to give up all these points. Kennard Davis, Moo Davis, and Richie Saunders, they're going to bring some toughness on the defensive side. Same with Keba Keita, too. This is going to be a much better defensive team. And DeBonsa, too. DeBonsa gets after it on the defensive end as well. This is going to be a complete team. I think the biggest challenge in front of Kevin Young, honestly, is just kind of figuring out how this all kind of comes together and making sure this locker room kind of moves together as one, because that aspect last year was such a critical piece to the success of last year's squad in year one under Kevin Young, reaching the Sweet 16. But having Richie Saunders be the leader, paired up with A.J. DeBonsa, he's going to have to be a leader of this team. DeBonsa and Richie, side by side, are going to have to be the leaders of this BYU basketball team. But the expectations are through the roof. And I think for good reason. I typically think that Cougar fans listening probably think, oh, no expectations. Even I was talking earlier about football. I like an underdog BYU football team, and I do. Don't get me wrong. I like an underdog BYU basketball as well. But I think ideally you want to embrace these expectations because it shows that BYU basketball has completely leveled up as a program. It's going to be exciting times for Cougar Hoops, but it was fun to see that tip time announced for BYU and Nebraska, the exhibition coming up on October 18th, because BYU basketball is just around the corner, and you can listen to all the action, of course, right here on KSL News Radio throughout the BYU basketball season. But that's going to do it for tonight's edition of Cougar Tracks. Go subscribe to the podcast feed and check out the show on the KSL Sports YouTube. Talk to you tomorrow.
Traffic brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Crews are still working to clear this crash in Summit County westbound I-80 at Kimball Junction. Right lanes are blocked and there are delays. In the valley, almost clear. Just a little bit of busy traffic left over southbound I-15 in Draper, passing Bangerter Highway. Eric?
It's a good drive northbound I-15 from downtown Salt Lake to Ogden. In Ogden itself, if you're using US 89 going northbound, you've got some police activity just past Harrison Boulevard. If you're going very far into Ogden, you might want to take Harrison instead of US 89. Utah Rail Safety Week is Monday, September 15th to Sunday, September 21st. Whether you drive, bike, or walk, safety starts with each of us. Learn more, UtahOperationLifesaver.org. Eric Butler in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
7 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. We're now expecting to get an update on the Charlie Kirk murder investigation from law enforcement around 7:30. Kirk was shot and killed at Utah Valley University event yesterday. Officials have recovered a rifle they believe was used in the murder. We'll tune into the press conference once it begins. 2 Utah County cities are holding vigils to remember Charlie Kirk. One at the Orem City Center Park started moments ago, and the other will be at a park in Provo tomorrow night at 7:30. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Investors are hoping that the Federal Reserve will be ready to cut interest rates at its meeting next week, especially after the latest inflation reading.
If you feel like prices are still inching higher at the grocery store, you're not wrong.